Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivashari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Gora Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Gora Hari Bo Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jayam Vishupar Paramahansa Paribhajikacharya Ashtotar Shishimad Say Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Skan BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Paribhajikacharya Ashtotar Shishimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Thakur Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Bindiki Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Shad Goswami Ki प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत राधा शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की वृंदावन धाम की मायापुर धाम की गंगामयी की जमुनमयी की तुलसी देवी की भक्ति देवी की समवेत भक्तवृंद की श्रीमती राधा रानी आविर्भाव महोत्सव की Shri Radhasthami ki, Itai Gaur Premanandi. All glory to the assembled devotees, all glory to the assembled devotees, all glory to the assembled devotees, all glory to Shri Guru, Shri Gauranga, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. So, today is the most auspicious appearance day of Srimati Radharani, and I would like to begin by playing a recording of Srila Prabhupada chanting the Radhastava from Sri Rupa Goswami's Stavamala. And then Srila Prabhupada gives a wonderful explanation of that song, which I would like to have as the beginning. So I will play that now, and I hope everyone can hear. Please just confirm that you're hearing it properly once I start.
This is a Rupa Goswami's song.
Yes, Gurudev, we are hearing.
Jaya Madhava Daite Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite Gokula Taruni Mandala Mahite Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite Damodharati Madhana Bese Harini Stuta Vrinda Bipine Se Vishabhanudodhi Navasasi Lekhe Lalita Sakhi Guna Ramita Bisami Vishabhanudodhi Navasasi Lekhe Lalita Sakhi Guna Ramita Bisakhe Karuna Puromahi Karuna Bharite Sanaka Sanatana Varnita Charite Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite. This song was sung by Rupa Goswami. He's the real person, actual person to understand Radha and Krishna. So he says, all glories to Radharani. Radhe Jaya Jaya. Madhava Daite. He is so dear to Krishna. Krishna, everyone is so dear to Krishna. Krishna, everyone is trying to love Krishna. But Krishna is trying to love somebody. How great he is. Just try to understand. Everyone, the whole world, the whole universe, all living entities, they are trying to love Krishna. Krishna Prema. Lord Chaitanya described Prema Bhumata Mahan. And Rupa Goswami describes that you are distributing Krishna Prema. So Krishna Prema is so valuable. But Krishna is after Radha. Just see how Radharani is great. Just trying to understand the greatness of Radharani. Therefore, she is so great, and we have to offer our respect. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava respect. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava. How she is Gokula Taruni Mandala Mahite. Taruni means young girls. You see the pictures, they're all young girls. But of all the young girls, she is the most beautiful. She is enchanting to the young girls. She's so beautiful. Bhutlatarani mandala mahite. Damodarati Vadhana Bise. And she always places hands so nicely that Damodara, Krishna, becomes attracted by her beauty. Haridishkuta Binna Bipineche. She is the only lovable object of Krishna, and she is the queen of Vrindavan. The queen of Vrindavan, you will find in Vrindavan, if you go to Vrindavan, everyone is worshipping Radharani. Rani means queen. They are always speaking Jaradhe, Radharani. All the devotees in Vrindavan, they are worshipper of Radharani. Harinishkuta Binda Bipine. Vrishabhanu Dodhi Namaseshi. And she appeared as the daughter of King Vrishabhanu. Her companion Lalita Sati and Vishakha Sati, and the devotees on behalf of the pure devotees of Krishna, Rupa Goswami is praying, Karuna Kurumai Karuna Bharite. My worshipable Radharani, you are full of mercy. My worshipable Radharani, you are full of mercy, so I am begging of your mercies because you are so merciful. Very easily you offer, bestow your mercy. So I am begging your mercy. Karunam kurumai, karuna bharite, sanaka samayatana bodnite charite. Now somebody may say, oh, you are so great, learned scholar, you are so great saintly person, and you are begging mercy from an ordinary girl. How is that? Therefore, Rupa Goswami says, oh, this is not ordinary girl. Sanaka Sanatana Bodnita Charite. This girl's description is possible to be made by great saintly person like Sanatana. She is not ordinary. So, the lesson is that we should not treat Radharani as ordinary girl or Krishna as ordinary man. They are the supreme absolute truth, but in the absolute truth there is the pleasure potency, and that is exhibited in the dealings of Radha and Krishna. And Radha has expansion all the gopis, and Krishna is the supreme Lord. Thank you. Chant Hare Krishna. You can chant. Can you chant? Janata? All right, you can.
Hare Krishna. I just wanted to begin today's class with Srila Prabhupada and that wonderful glorification. So this is the essence. Srila Prabhupada summarized so beautifully that Srimati Radharani, everyone's looking for Krishna. Everyone, every living entity. As I've said many times, even in the Shikshastika, we can get two meanings from Pratiparam Purnamrista Vadanam. One is that a devotee is always looking for more and more nectar because that is always available in Krishna consciousness. Krishna is the unlimited source of nectar. So if we understand that Krishna, everything, every living entity at every step is another way of seeing that verse, is looking for that nectar which is only found in Krishna. And Krishna is looking for Srimati Radharani. Therefore, how great is she? Everyone's looking for Krishna, and Krishna's looking for her. So this is the greatness of Srimati Radharani. So I wanted to read as the beginning of this class from Adi Lila. Let me just get to the Adi Lila, the Let me just give you, Adi Leela, Chaitanya Charitamrita, verse 69. I'm going to read a couple verses. So this is the 4th chapter and starting with verse 69. So Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So first of all, reading verse number 69, 4th chapter of Adi Leela. Mahabhava Swarupa Shri Radha Thakurani Sarvaguna Kani Krishna Kanta Shiromani. Shri Radha Thakurani is the embodiment of Mahabhava. She is the repository of all good qualities and the crest jewel among all the lovely consorts of Lord Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada says in his purport, the unadulterated action of the Hladini Shakti is displayed in the dealings of the damsels of Braja and Srimati Radharani, who is the topmost participant in that transcendental group. The essence of the Hladini Shakti is love of Godhead. The essence of love of Godhead is bhava, or transcendental sentiment. And the highest pitch of that bhava is called Mahabhava. Srimati Radharani is the personified embodiment of these three aspects of transcendental consciousness. She is therefore the highest principle in love of Godhead and is the supreme lovable object of Sri Krishna. Om Jnana Timirandasya Ganam Jana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadahmahyam Daratishva Padantika. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitya Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirbhishesha Shunyavati Pastyatadishatadine. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So I just wanted to mention about this particular verse that especially in the previous verses, Krishnadas Kaviraj says that the internal potency of Krishna is composed of three elements: Sandhini, Sambit, and Hladini. Sandhini means the existence of Krishna. Krishna's very existence, his eternality, is constantly established by this potency. And Sambit, the potency of knowledge, is the specific knowledge by which we can see Krishna, we can understand Krishna, and by which Krishna knows everything about every living entity. That is called Sambit. But the most important potency, these correspond to the three components of Krishna and ourselves: Sat, Chit, Ananda. So Sat, eternality; Chit, knowledge; and Ananda, Hladini potency. So Srila Prabhupada explaining in his purport, Hladini potency or Hladini Shakti has three basic aspects: love of Krishna or Krishna prema, and within that Krishna prema, bhava. Now this is not talking about bhava bhakti. This is talking about the bhava of Krishna prema, the transcendental sentiment. And when that sentiment reaches its highest manifestation, that is Mahabhava. And Srimati Radharani is the embodiment of Mahabhava, which of course includes Bhava and includes Prema. So these three things are there. And therefore, now this is a description of a previous verse, which Krishnadas is giving, and he'll give more verses coming up in the next few verses, where Krishna, he first describes Krishna Kanta, the lovers of Krishna. Among them, Shiromani, the crown, the greatest, is Srimati Radharani. So we'll read the next verse, verse 70. Tayor apyubayor madhye radhika sarvatadika mahabhava sarupeyam gunair ativari yasi. Of these two gopis, Radharani and Chandravali, Srimati Radharani is superior in all respects. She is the embodiment of Mahabhava, and she surpasses all in good qualities. So because the Mahabhava potency includes the highest ecstasy of contradictory, because within Radharani we find contradictory elements. Just like if we think of somebody who loves someone, they're very submissive, they're very dutiful, but Radharani, in order to please Krishna, sometimes she becomes angry, sometimes she becomes proud, sometimes she exhibits things which are considered to be negative. So these are contradictory. But because she has all those, she is superior to Chandravali, who only embodies the qualities of faithful servant. Although sometimes she does become angry when, a little bit angry, when Krishna is with Radharani, and she tries to increase her service. Whereas Radharani, if she finds out that Krishna is with Chandravali, she becomes so angry. And of course, Lalita especially helping her. Lalita is the expansion of Srimati Radharani's loving sentiment of anger and keeping Krishna in a subordinate position. And Vishaka is the personification of Radha's submission to Krishna. Although both of them, they become angry when Krishna is with Chandravali. And just a little explanation. So Chandravali admits, although she's always competing with Radharani because she wants to be with Krishna, but she admits that Radharani is the greatest. And so I'll read one more text. This is text 71. Krishna prema bhavita janra chitendriya koi Krishna nija shakti radha kridhara sang sahai. Her mind, sense, and body are steeped in love for Krishna. She is Krishna's own energy. She helps him in his pastimes. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srimati Radharani is as fully spiritual as Krishna. No one should consider her to be material. This is what Srila Prabhupada was emphasizing in his explanation of the song that we just heard. Because her why is Prabhupada emphasizing this? Because Radharani's her aspect, when you hear about her, it sounds like a material girl infatuated with a beautiful young man. She sounds more like that. Of course, Krishna also sounds like that, which is why all this is very confidential, meaning only a devotee can understand, and a devotee can only understand by doing submissive service, because submissive service, of course, it's not always submissive, but it is always submissive in the sense that the gopis are always submissive to Krishna. But that submission also requires that sometimes for Krishna's pleasure, they become angry. And we'll go into that a little more a little later in the lecture. So she is definitely not material. She's not like the conditioned souls who have material bodies, gross and subtle, covered by material senses. She is all spiritual, and both her body and her mind are of the same spiritual embodiment. Because her body is spiritual, her senses are also spiritual. Thus, her body, mind, and senses fully shine in love of Krishna. She is the personified Hladini Shakti, the pleasure-giving energy of the Lord's internal potency. And therefore, she is the only source of enjoyment for Sri Krishna. Now, just to understand that only source of enjoyment, what does that mean? Because she is Hladini potency, pleasure-giving potency. Now, many times we see that Srila Prabhupada says that she is the Hladini potency, and because she's the Hladini potency, it seems like she's just one aspect. But because Krishna's eternal desire in Braja is simply to enjoy, as the Upanishads say, Tatasya karyam karanam cha vidyate, that Krishna has nothing, he has no obligations, he has nothing to do. His obligation only comes from his love for Srimati Radharani and the gopis, which extends to loving all the living entities equally. But the nature, the intensity of that love is different. And in Srimati Radharani, it is the greatest tendency. So because Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, he is considered, Radharani is considered to be eternally equal to Krishna because she satisfies his greatest desire. And of course, as Prabhupada says many times, you can't separate the energy from the energetic exactly as you cannot separate heat and fire. Although the heat comes from the fire, the heat is non-different. So because she is the initial potency of why Krishna expands himself to enjoy. Therefore, if she's not there, then no one else can enjoy. It's just like she's the plug that goes, like we put a plug into the wall. Without putting the plug into the wall, none of the appliances will function. So without having Srimati Radharani, there can be no pleasure. There can be no enjoyment. She has to be there. Sri Krishna cannot enjoy anything that is internally different from him. Therefore, Radha and Sri Krishna are identical. The Sandhini portion of Sri Krishna's internal potency has manifested the all-attractive form of Krishna. Otherwise, because Krishna's form is eternal, then Sandhini, or the potency of eternality, manifests as Krishna's form. And that same internal potency in the Hladini feature has presented Srimati Radharani, who is the attraction for the all-attractive. No one can match Srimati Radharani in the transcendental pastimes of Krishna. I just wanted to explain one more thing, that in relation to this. So sometimes we say the Hladini potency is Srimati Radharani, or or Krishna's form is the Sandini potency. But actually it's the reverse. Because Krishna has an eternal form, that form, because everything in Krishna consciousness is personal, that energy of Krishna, which manifests his form, is defined as Sandini potency. And because Radharani exists eternally as the pleasure potency of Krishna, she is defined as the Hladini Shakti. But we shouldn't think that this is some energy that generates Radha. No, Radharani generates the energy, and that energy is constantly manifested from Krishna's. Krishna is manifesting everything. So we give it a name, and that's the Hladini Shakti. I just wanted to explain that. Then next, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he refers to Brahma Samhita, Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavita Vis, that Krishna Ananda Chinmaya Rasa, that the ability of Krishna to enjoy unlimitedly Ananda, unlimited transcendental bliss, is expanded. Pratibhavita means Krishna at every time is enjoying with these potencies. Tabir yaeva nija rupataya kalabi. So that Krishna has this ability to enjoy that, and he expands himself to enjoy unlimitedly his potency. Srimati Radharani expands herself unlimitedly. And so that potency, that Hladini potency, is expanded. And of course, then Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami goes into explaining how the different Radharani, just as Krishna expands himself as Baladev and the Chaturvyuha, first and second expansion, Narayan, in the same way, she expands herself in the form of Vaibhava Vilas, or to carry out her pastime of expansion. She expands herself into the goddesses of fortune. And Vaibhava Prakash, she directly manifests herself, otherwise like an image in the forms of the queens of Dwarka, and the exact mirror or the exact reflection of herself in the form of the gopis. So the point is, all the gopis, everyone, every feminine expansion in the spiritual world, they're all coming from Srimati Radharani. This is one part of her greatness, that she expands herself as Krishna expands himself to a suitable consort for the particular mood of Krishna, whatever that mood is, and the gopis specifically to give Krishna his highest pleasure. Now, as Krishnadas Kaviraj goes on, he mentions several names of Srimati Radharani, starting with verse 82. Govinda Nandini Radha. Krishna, she who gives unlimited pleasure to Govinda. Govinda is the name of Krishna, which indicates that he's giving pleasure. But who gives pleasure to Govinda? So now the role is reversed from what we heard. Krishna is looking for Radha, but Radha's only interest is to give pleasure to Krishna. And in doing so, Govinda Mohini. In doing so, she captures, she mystifies Krishna, Govinda Mohini, or Madana Mohan Mohini, Madana Mohini, that Krishna bewilders the mind of Cupid, and she bewilders the mind of Krishna. And Govinda Sarvasva, she is everything. She is everything to Lord Govinda. Otherwise, Krishna sees nothing but Srimati Radharani. Everything he sees through her, everything he experiences through her. And Sarvakanta Shudamani, she is the crest jewel, Sarvakanta. So then there's a beautiful verse, which is, I want to speak this verse, and I'll speak it in the original Sanskrit, and then the verse. Devi Krishnamayi Prokta Radhika Paradevata Sarva Lakshmi Mayi Sarva Kanti Samohini Para. The transcendental goddess Srimati Radharani is the direct counterpart of Lord Sri Krishna. She is the central figure for all the goddesses of fortune. She possesses all attractiveness to attract the all-attractive personality of Krishna. And then Krishnadas Kaviraj defines each one of those words. That verse is so important that he defines. Devi means so beautiful, so wonderful, the abode of worship and loving sports. Otherwise, when Krishna wants to do something, wants to enjoy, that is Srimati Radharani. Krishna Mai has two meanings. It means that she is within and without. Her within and her out, everything for her is Krishna. And anything she sees, it's all Krishna. And it can also mean that she is identical with Krishna. She's identical. No one can. There's nothing besides her. She's identical. She is identical with Krishna. And then her worship consists of Krishna. And then there's a beautiful verse which I'm going to read, because this is the verse that identifies Srimati Radharani in the Bhagavatam. Anaya radhito nunam bhagavan haririshvaraha yano bihaya govinda pritoyam anaya raha. Truly, the personality of Godhead has been worshipped by her. Therefore, Lord Govinda, being pleased, has brought her to a lonely spot, leaving all of us behind. Of course, this was spoken by the gopis, that they're singling out Srimati Radharani. She has disappeared. Now, this is something that Krishnadas Kaviraj that is explained very beautifully, initially by Krishnadas and then by Ramananda Roy, that it wasn't Krishna that left the rasa dance. Although it says that way in the Bhagavatam, just like it says here, the Radharani's name is not given in the Bhagavatam, because the Bhagavatam kept Radharani in a particular mood. And otherwise, so people, unscrupulous people, although her name is found in other Puranas, it's not found directly in the Bhagavatam, because the emphasis is the one who worships, Aradhita. Aradhita, the one who worships Krishna. That's how she's described. Otherwise, that there's nothing else within her other than her desire to serve Krishna. So then, Parama Devata, among all the goddesses of fortune, she is the supreme. Sarva Lakshmi, she is the source of all these goddesses of fortune. Or she represents all the potencies of Krishna. And Sarvakanti, the second to the last part of this verse, that all beauty, otherwise, even the beauty of Krishna becomes specially manifest. And when she sees Krishna's beauty, she becomes enlivened. And when Krishna sees her beauty, he becomes enlivened. Although it's stated that Radharani's beauty is all pervading. Her qualities are all pervading. That means that you can't go beyond that. But by seeing the beauty of Krishna and Krishna seeing her beauty, although his qualities and everything about him is all pervading, there's nothing more. By the presence of Srimati Radharani, Krishna increases, and by his presence, her beauty and all of her qualities increase. So even though this is the mystical aspect of the spiritual world, even though everything is there fully manifest, there cannot be any more. There's always more. So this is something that can only happen on the spiritual platform. And then she's the one who satisfies all Krishna's desires. And then San Mohini, Krishnadas Kaviraj describes that Lord Krishna enchants the world, but Sri Radha enchants even him. Therefore, she is supreme. So these are just some qualities that we find in Srimati Radharani. So it's said that Radharani's love for Krishna is how much more than Krishna's? 10 million times more. We can't even, 10 million times something. So this is why Krishna says he says to the gopis, which is there in the Bhagavatam, that na pareham niravadya samjutam, that the love, he says, the gopis, their love, the nature of their love is so great that its purity can find no equal, no competition within the three worlds. Why? And he says, because of that, swasadu krityam vibudhayu shapiva. And because of that, Krishna says, even if I had a lifetime as long as that of Lord Brahma, I could not fully describe or fully even understand the nature, the piety, the beauty of your transcendental pastime. Yama bhajan durjaya geha shrinkala. Why? Because Krishna is speaking to the gopis, and especially to Srimati Radharani, you have given up everything. You have given up everything. Your home, which is durjaya, which is very, very difficult to give up. You have given up everything. Just things that are shrinkala, that are like chains that tie us to this material world. You've given up everything. Sambricha tadya. You've given up all this, and therefore, I cannot repay you. Swasadu kutyam. Even with a lifetime of Brahma, I could never repay you. What is your compensation? Patiyatu sadhuna. Your own good fortune of having 10 million times more bliss than I have. You have 10, that's how great it is. I can't compete, Krishna says. I can't give you something beyond that. So this is Krishna's wonderful transcendental quality. And what is one of the main aspects of Srimati Radharani's qualities is that her service to Krishna is completely devoid of any pride. Now, sometimes she exhibits pride, but she exhibits pride only to please Krishna. She can do something contrary to her own internal position, devoid of pride. Now, just like Rukmini, she cannot do that. Rukmini, Krishna tried to get her to act differently from her own internal mood. Her own internal mood is submission. So therefore, Krishna was joking with her and she fainted. She could not act differently. Krishna was trying to get her to become angry at him. She could not do it. But Radharani, although she's totally devoid of pride, anger, anything, she only wants to please Krishna. She understands that, or it's naturally part of her nature, it's naturally part of her, that Krishna wants her to be mad at him. Sometimes Krishna wants her to chastise him. And sometimes Krishna wants her to be submissive. So all these things are found within Srimati Radharani. Although in relationship to anyone else, she is the most shy. She will not look into the eyes of anyone, any man, except for Krishna. She'll look into the eyes of the gopis, but she won't look into the eyes of any male except Krishna. So she has no pride, but at the same time, she's full of duplicity. Why? That duplicity means she acts in contrary ways because that gives pleasure to Krishna. That's why she does it. She doesn't do it because she wants to, she's sometimes angry. No, she's really essentially internally only trying to please Krishna. And therefore all these things. And Radharani's ecstasy is so great that sometimes when she sees Krishna, tears come into her eyes. But when the tears come into her eyes, then she condemns the tears. Because now I can't see Krishna's beauty. These tears are blurring his beauty. Now I can't see his beauty. So these tears, they should go away. They're like hellish. Just like Daruka, when he was fanning Krishna, he said, I don't want this ecstasy because of ecstasy. So she condemns ecstasy also. Although she's constantly feeling ecstasy, when the ecstasy becomes too much, she feels like, oh, and we'll talk about that a little beyond, a little more down the way about her ecstasy and how it competes. There's competing types of ecstasy within Radharani. It's said that the gopis can never please Krishna without Radharani. Even though sometimes Krishna wants to be with one of them, they never want to stand and compete with Radharani. They never want to do that. But sometimes Krishna desires it. And that desire manifests in them, and they will be with Krishna. And so this is how Krishna creates so much pleasure by this type of competition within the gopis, although all the gopis simply want to serve Srimati Radharani. So what does Krishna say about Radharani? He himself starts to glorify Radharani. What does he say? He says that my flute and my gives pleasure to all the three worlds. Actually, all pleasure that is coming to the three worlds originates from my flute. But when Radharani speaks, when words come out of her mouth, it gives the greatest pleasure to me. Otherwise, her words are the flute that enchants my mind. And then Krishna says, my fragrance, the fragrance from my transcendental body, is the source of all wonderful fragrances in this world. But the fragrance of the body of Srimati Radharani captivates my mind and my heart. I can't do without it. The taste that comes from me is the taste that gives taste to everything in the three worlds. But the taste of the lips of Srimati Radharani is my greatest pleasure. And the touch of my transcendental body is more cooling than 10 million moons. But the touch of her transcendental body refreshes me. And the happiness, my happiness is the source of happiness for everyone and everything. But her beauty and her attributes are not only my happiness, but they're my very life and my soul. And this, I just wanted to go a little bit ahead and read one more verse from the Bhagavatam, which from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is a little bit ahead in the same chapter, text 259 and 260. So I'm just going a little ahead here, 259 and 260, because this is the summary of what I just said. So I'm not going to read the Sanskrit, just the translation. My dear auspicious Radharani, your body is the source of all beauty. Your red lips are softer than the sense of immortal sweetness. Your face bears the aroma of a lotus flower. Your sweet words defeat the vibrations of the cuckoo, and your limbs are cooler than the pulp of sandalwood. All my transcendental senses are overwhelmed in ecstatic pleasure by tasting you, who are completely decorated by beautiful qualities. And then he says, her eyes are enchanted by the beauty of Lord Krishna, the enemy of Kamsa. This is not said by her. This is said by one of Radharani's friends. Her body thrills in pleasure at his touch. Her ears are always attracted to his sweet voice. Her nostrils are enchanted by his fragrance, and her tongue hankers for the nectar of his soft lips. She hangs down like her lotus-like face, exercising self-control only by pretense. But she cannot help showing the external signs of her spontaneous love for Lord Krishna. That last part refers to the fact that Radha always appears to be very shy. Well, she is very shy. Her nature is very shy. But it's only a pretense. Whenever she can possibly give a sidelong glance or a direct glance to Krishna, she does so. But her pretense is that I will only see Krishna according to proper etiquette, but that proper etiquette she doesn't always exhibit. So we're talking about the qualities of Krishna. I wanted to read from the Madhya Lila, chapter 23, text number 87 to 91. The qualities of Srimati Radharani as given by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Of course, these are given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but quoted by Krishnadas Kaviraj. Srimati Radharani's 25 chief transcendental qualities, just like when we speak of 64 qualities of Krishna or 25 qualities, these are, Radharani has unlimited qualities, and Krishna has unlimited qualities, but they're summarized in 64 general aspects, and her qualities are summarized in these 25. She's very sweet. She is always freshly youthful. Her eyes are restless because they're always looking for Krishna. She smiles very brightly because she wants to give pleasure to Krishna. She has beautiful, auspicious lines. Her beauty is manifest in such a way of the lines and everything. There's certain lines, especially on the neck of a transcendental personality. They have 3 lines like a conch shell. And so she has these beautiful lines. She makes Krishna happy with her bodily aroma. She is very expert in singing. Her speech is very charming. She is very expert in joking and speaking pleasantly. And all of this, of course, is for Krishna's pleasure. She is very humble and meek. She is always full of mercy. And this, of course, this aspect of Srimati Radharani is fully manifest in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, her compassion, because she wants to please Krishna, and she knows that Krishna wants all of his parts and parcels to be united with him, and therefore her compassion is the greatest compassion of all. She is cunning. She always, she's not like Chandravali or Rukmini. She's always thinking of different ways, even sometimes which would be considered negative qualities, how to please Krishna. She's cunning, and she's very expert in executing her duties. Now that refers to specifically that she's very expert in doing her duties in front of Abhimanyu, in front of Jatila and Kutila. She's very expert at doing these things so that she's seen as the very chaste wife of Abhimanyu, but she's always cunningly looking for Krishna. She is shy. She's naturally shy. Even sometimes when Krishna somehow or another does, something that that is not so agreeable to her sentiment of always wanting to be with him, she always thinks, should I react? And then Lalita and Vishaka, they convince her to react. But she's always, it's shyness. Always she thinks, should I react? And also respectful, same way. She's always respectful to Krishna. She's always calm. She's always grave, meaning always grave doesn't mean she's super serious, because we already said she's expert in joking and pleasing. But she's always grave means she's always thinking of how to please Krishna. Her gravity, otherwise she's not just caught up in some ecstasy and loses herself. She always has that gravity of wanting to please Krishna. She is very expert in enjoying life, because she has to enjoy to increase Krishna's enjoyment. The gopis, it's said by Krishnadas Kaviraj that the gopis, they feel unlimited bliss, but it's just a product of their desire to serve Krishna. They're not looking for that bliss. One time a couple of devotees challenged me, and they said, because gopis are experiencing unlimited bliss, then that must be a motive. No, it's not a motive. They are not looking for bliss. Although sometimes they say that, we've lost our happiness. Krishna took away our happiness. But they don't, they just say that to feel separation from Krishna. That's very important. So she's very expert in enjoying so that Krishna can enjoy. She is situated at the topmost level of ecstatic love. And of course, we've discussed that Mahabhava. She is the reservoir of loving affairs in Gokula. She is the highest in loving affairs. She is the most famous of submissive devotees. So even though sometimes she's challenging and everything, she is the most submissive because she submits to whatever Krishna desires. And nobody else can do that. That is the nature of Mahabhava, that she can adapt herself to whatever mood. She can be totally submissive or she can be totally rebellious. Nobody else can do that to the degree that she can do that, and only to please Krishna. She is very affectionate to elderly people. Otherwise, this is the nature. Sometimes we see in Kali Yuga, there's a lack of respect. But respect is there. And where does that respect come from? Comes from, of course, Krishna and Srimati Radharani. They're very respectful to their superiors. And therefore, we should be respectful to those who have spiritual potency and those who represent the spiritual potency of Srila Prabhupada. She's very submissive to the love of her friends. Otherwise, even if one gopi wants to Krishna wants to be with a gopi, she is submissive to that love of her friends toward her and toward Krishna. She is the chief gopi. She always keeps Krishna under her control. In short, she possesses unlimited transcendental qualities, just as Lord Krishna does. So I wanted to mention those 25 qualities. And one quality of Srimati Radharani is that I wanted to mention one other verse that is a very beautiful verse, and it's contained both in the 4th chapter of Adi Lila and the 8th chapter of Madhya Lila, in describing the qualities of Radharani and how dear she is to Krishna. Yata Radha Priya Vishnu Tasya Kundam Priyam Tata Sarva Gopishu Saivaika Vishnu Atyanta Vallabha. Just as Radha is dear to Lord Krishna, so her bathing place, Radha Kund, is dear to him. She alone is his most beloved of all the gopis. And then another verse which says, even Satyabhama, one of the queens of Sri Krishna, desires the fortunate position and the excellent qualities of Srimati Radharani. Now, of course, Satyabhama is the manifestation of Radharani within the queens of Dwarka. And so, but even she, who's very jealous of any other queen, prays to Radharani to have her qualities. All the gopis learn the art of dressing from Srimati Radharani. Even the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, and the wife of Lord Shiva, Parvati, desire her beauty and qualities. Indeed, Arundhati, the celebrated chaste wife of Vasishta, also wants to imitate the chastity and religious principles of Srimati Radharani. So I would like to conclude. I'm sorry I'm going a little beyond, but I just wanted to conclude with one pastime, which is one of the most famous pastimes, just to outline it a little bit. And I hope I'm not violating some other program, but it's difficult to try to fit a description of Srimati Radharani into a short amount of time. So Radharani, when in the Rath Yatra, Lord Chaitanya spoke one verse which indicates the wonderful, beautiful position of Srimati Radharani. And that particular verse, beautiful verse, Anyera Hridhaya Mana, Mora Mana Vrindavan, Manivani Eka Karijan. She says that other people's hearts, they follow their mind. Otherwise, whatever we think of, our heart tends to go in that direction. We contemplate something. Be careful what you contemplate, because your mind will go there. So she says, other people's hearts, they follow their mind. But Mora Mana Vrindavan, but my mind cannot leave Vrindavan. Mani Vani Eka Korijani. I can only find my happiness there. Therefore, Tahan Tomara Pada Dhaya Koriya Yadu Udhaya. tabi tomara purna kripamani. Therefore, my dear Krishna, please situate yourself in Vrindavan. I cannot leave Vrindavan. I'm standing here looking at you. She says this while in the mood of, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says this in the mood of Radharani seeing Krishna on his chariot. Please go back to Vrindavan. I can't find any ecstasy, because Krishna was saying, here I am. And so she's saying that. So I just wanted to very quickly go over the most famous pastime, one of the most famous pastimes of Srimati Radharani, which enchanted the heart of Uddhava, which was the pastime when Srimati Radharani, Uddhava is speaking to all the gopis, and Radharani wanders off in total ecstasy after hearing about Krishna, total ecstasy. Then a bumblebee comes and trying to touch her lotus feet. And she says, don't touch me. I see on your mustache. She's in total ecstasy, the total ecstasy. So she's exhibiting what I just said, demanding Krishna, demanding something from Krishna. Don't touch me. I see on your mustache red kumkum powder, which has obviously come from other, you were with other, these ladies or some other gopis. I know that. So don't touch me. Just go with these other ladies. No, you're an unreliable servant of an unreliable master. Now, why does she call the servant unreliable? And of course, she's also referring to Uddhava, because Uddhava comes, his bodily features are just like Krishna's, but he's not Krishna. And he's telling them all about Krishna, and they're asking about Krishna in Mathura, and he's describing, he can't really understand the mood of Krishna in Vrindavan until he hears Radharani speaking this. So she says, this unreliable servant, otherwise he comes here to give us Krishna, but he can't give us Krishna. And instead, just like this, just like you go from flower to flower, So Krishna, you bumblebee, you have the same nature of Krishna. Go from flower to flower and take the nectar and then go to the next one. So you are the, these goddesses of fortune, or these queens in Dwarka, or maybe the goddesses of fortune can be bewildered by you, but you can't bewilder me. We've already seen how you are. They're seeing your beauty, and they're becoming, bewildered by your beauty. But we've already seen how you dealt. We gave up everything. We gave up our families. We gave up our reputations. We gave up. And then what did you do, Krishna? You left us behind with nothing, no reputation, no wealth, nothing. You just left us behind. And so, maybe you can, maybe you can please these ladies of Mathura, but I doubt it. They're more intelligent. So now I see you bumblebee messenger. You're coming to take us. You want to take us to Mathura, but we're not going to go. Certainly, I know why you're doing this, because these ladies of Mathura, they're not foolish like us. We're village girls. We were bewildered by Krishna's flute playing and everything, but these ladies are more intelligent, and therefore you're coming. You want to secure some foolish young girls like us, because certainly these city girls, city ladies, are not so easily bewildered as village girls. But we're not going to fall for that again. And we also heard, we heard from Purnamasi about your previous births. Otherwise, it's not that you're just a cheater now. You're full of all kinds of negative qualities, Krishna. First of all, in your previous incarnation, you, what did you do? You didn't live up to your quality as a kshatriya. You killed the monkey Bali from behind, just like a coward. And because of jealousy, you disfigured Surnakapa and disfigured her face. So how can you do these things? She came to you to get shelter. A Kshatriya has to give shelter, but you disfigured her. There and previous to that, in the form of Vamanadev, you made friendship with him, made him a promise, and then sent him to the lower planets. So how can anyone be so foolish? We were just like spotted deer, simple village girls, bewildered by your beauty and your flute playing. But now I don't want to hear that flute. But then the bee left and she thought, uh-oh, the bee's going to go and tell Krishna everything I said. Oh, no. And then the bee comes back and she says, oh, I'm so happy that you've come back. She said, I don't want to say anything negative. I want him to take this message to Krishna. Oh, I'm so happy you've come back. Please, please tell Krishna how happy I am. I'm always happy to have his pleasure. I'm always happy, whatever he wants. You can ask anything from me. Have you come to carry me to Mathura? Well, you're not big enough to carry me. But, she was thinking, maybe I should go to Mathura. No, but you can't carry me. Forget about that. But tell me, how is Krishna? Does he remember us, the gopis? Does he remember Yashoda? Does he remember Nanda Maharaj? No. Does he remember the residents of Vrindavan? And most importantly, please tell me, will he come back to Vrindavan? Please tell me. So this was Srimati Radharani's ecstasy that brought Uddhava to the point of just understanding that now that I've heard this, my greatest desire is that I can take a birth. I don't even want to be Uddhava anymore. I want to take birth as a plant or a creeper in Vrindavan. I don't want to be a tree. I want to be a little creeper on the ground so that I can get the dust of the gopis. So therefore, this is the greatest thing. After Uddhava heard this, he said, this is the greatest possible fortune that could come to anyone, just to be able to get the dust of the lotus feet of the gopis. So anyway, this particular pastime convinced Uddhava. Uddhava went back to Vrindavan and told Krishna, you have to go. You have to go. Then Balaram went to Vrindavan, and when he came back, he was angry at Krishna. He said, they wanted me to guarantee that I will have you come, but I could not give that guarantee because, you should have gone yourself. I went, but if you don't go, you'll be responsible for the demise of the residents of Vrindavan. You will be responsible. One time somebody told that to me in another context, just to get me to do something. So anyway, there are so many beautiful pastimes. Bhakti Purushottam Swami has written a book, 2 books actually, about Srimati Radharani. So you can read those books. Although some of those pastimes, I have to say, are just like we find in many devotees. They go to Vrindavan and they hear pastimes. You have to be a little careful, because the first time I went to Vrindavan, I went to Radha Kund with some other devotees, and one Babaji, Krishnadas Babaji, not not Srila Prabhupada's friend, but another Krishnadas Babaji. He told us 3 pastimes, and we were all beautiful. Then I went back, and by Krishna's grace, I found in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it said, sometimes the Sahajas say, and he said all those 3 pastimes. And so, but this is not true. So I could understand. We have to be a little careful about those pastimes that are not being told by the 6 Goswamis or by Swarup Damodar or by other intimate devotees of the Lord. But in any case, there are many beautiful pastimes there. So I just wanted to conclude by Srimati Radharani's birth. In that particular book, there's a very vivid description of Radharani being brought to the mountains because they wanted to have a competition. Durga was born from certain mountains, so they wanted to have the what's it called? I can't remember the name of the mountains, but they wanted to have someone who could attract, so that she would marry someone who would attract, who could defeat Mahadev. So, but these are stories from the Puranas. But Srila Prabhupada gave us what is generally known as this kalpa, this particular time. Another one says that Radharani appeared on a beautiful golden lotus of thousands of petals. But these are different kalpas. In this kalpa, Srila Prabhupada says, he gave us in one of his classes about Radharani. He said, she appeared in a field, just like Sita Devi. She appeared and she was, Vrishabhanu wanted a daughter, but he was very old. He was actually older than Nanda Maharaj. So he wanted a daughter and he found her. And she, just like Sita, she would not, they thought she was blind. It seemed like she could not see anything, although she would open her eyes, but she couldn't see anything. Sita would not even open her eyes. But so they thought she was blind. But then right after Krishna's, a little bit after Krishna's birth, Yashoda brought Krishna, baby Krishna, to Vrishabhanu's house to see him because they were very intimate friends. And as soon as Radharani saw Krishna, she opened her eyes and she would look, and they said, "Oh, she's not blind." No, the first thing she wanted to see was Krishna. So there are many beautiful stories there. Some are from Puranas and some maybe from folklore, but one can read many different pastimes there. So anyway, I will stop here, and I see there's one question already in the chat, so I'll start with any questions. And I thank you all for your kind attention, and we should all pray to Srimati Radharani that she will bless us with that a small drop of a small portion of a drop of the ecstasy of Ladini Shakti, so that we can be attracted to serve Krishna. So here's a question. Some say Radharani is one with Krishna, and some say different from Krishna. And generally we apply Achinta Veda Veda Tattva to Krishna and his energies. But can we apply Achinta Veda Veda to Krishna and Radharani, meaning that they are both one and different simultaneously? Yes, we can, but not in the same way as it is explained. Like we apply that to ourselves in Krishna, that we're one qualitatively and we are different quantitatively. But in the case of Radharani, it's not that she's different quantitatively. She is only different. She's really one. The only difference is that she is the energy and he is the energetic. But they are both on the same transcendental level. They are both unlimitedly expanded, and they cause unlimited pleasure to one another. Therefore, they are considered to be one unit. without which Krishna cannot enjoy. Of course, Krishna also says that without my devotees, I cannot enjoy. But without Radharani, he cannot even enjoy with his devotees. And so it's a different kind of one, but it's actually there is no difference, because just as we gave the example, which is given in the Shastra, that there's no difference between fire and heat, but one is the object and the other is the result, or the energy. So Krishna is the object, and Radharani is the ashraya, or the worshipper. I hope that explains it.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Gurudev. Also,
Well,
generally,
let me take this other question
okay,
here, and
sure.
then Taruna Radha.
Hare Krishna Gurudeva, please accept my humble obeisances. How we should celebrate Radhasthami, and how we can make Srimati Radharani be satisfied with us today.
Mm.
And shall we bring her some present today also, physically?
Yeah. How should we celebrate it? Cooking for Radharani, speaking of Radharani, glorifying Radharani, glorifying Krishna, decorating the altar. We celebrate it. Everyone will celebrate it in a different way. Meaning, some people, by their inclination, will celebrate by glorification. Some will celebrate by cooking. Some will celebrate by decorating the altar. So everyone, just like in Vrindavan, someone is fanning Krishna, someone is, cooking for Krishna, someone is massaging Krishna. So everyone will worship Srimati Radharani according to their abilities, their nature, their inclination. And we should just do it to our fullest propensity. The importance of an appearance day is to become absorbed in that person. And being absorbed in that person, we give them our transcendental love and pleasure. Is that okay? Okay.
Yes, Gurudev, thank you very much.
You can put down your hand also.
Oh, sorry.
Any other questions?
Hare Krishna, Gurudev. Just considering that first question, Krishna and Krishna's soul and Krishna's body are non-different; they're the same, and I would assume the same with Radharani. So, what does it mean that they have the same soul but different bodies? Because I think in one verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that they have one soul but two bodies.
Well, that's generally, sometimes we say that, but it's not like it's one person, meaning Krishna, manifesting himself as himself, Swayam Rupa, and his energy. So it's not really one soul, because first of all, Krishna is Paramatma. He's the supreme soul, and she is the supreme soul. So in that sense, it's one soul, but they're actually two different persons who sometimes merge in the form of Lord Chaitanya. And so in that sense, they're one, but they're also different. So, it's not like a soul, like we're Vibhinamsha, we're a separate soul from Krishna. But it just means that they are internally one, but externally they're different to provide enjoyment to one another. So, it's like the same thing. Krishna expands himself as Balaram. So in one sense, it's the same person, and in another sense, it's a different person. So that can only exist on the transcendental platform.
Thank you very much.
So any other question? Here's, okay, Taruna Radha.
Hare Krishna Gurudeva, nuevamente, sorry. Shall we stop our fasting with prasadam of Ekadashi today, or it could be some
No.
grains?
No, not. That's only for Vishnu, and generally
Okay.
speaking, we only observe that for Janmashtami and Gaur Purnima. Well,
Okay.
technically, any day of Vishnu, you don't offer grains. And the reason is that grains are considered to be the most enjoyable foodstuffs. And therefore, you break the fast with Ekadashi, which means very simple Ekadashi prasadam. And then the next day, you have a grain feast, which, where we can all, but on the day of the appearance, but in case of Srimati Radharani, even Balaram, Nityananda, we don't do that because Prabhupada didn't, he just said it, he really said it only he said it in terms of Gaur Purnima, but he did mention to devotees that also Janmashtami. It's not like if you take grains, you break something. It's you break the mood of the day. But no, today you should take with grain.
Okay. Thank you very much.
So if there is one, we have time for one more quick question, if there is one. Otherwise, we can stop. Okay, seems like we've exhausted the questions for today. So I want to thank you all very much and pray to Srimati Radharani that she bless all of us with unswerving devotion to the lotus feet of Krishna and the desire to only please him. And we become free from any other desire. That is her very special quality. Of course, one quality which is given in the last chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita is that she's so desirous of pleasing Krishna that if Krishna wants to be with another devotee, that makes her unhappy. But her unhappiness, if her unhappiness is pleasing to Krishna, that unhappiness becomes her happiness. So that's something very difficult to understand, but that can exist only in Srimati Radharani. So thank you all very much. All glory to Srimati Radharani, Shri Radha Avirbhava Mahotsava ki jai, Shri Radhasthami ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Bo.